Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Live Stream Lee, where we talk about business and software. And today's another software. I'm actually going to, I think, make a lot of progress today towards kind of wrapping up this project. As you know from yesterday's episode, I actually, over the weekend, went back and re engineered the entire app, and I'm now in the process of kind of walking you through a little bit faster. Rather than build it piece by piece, I got frustrated with the fact that I ran into some tough spots, and sometimes figuring out what's not working just takes a lot of time. And I got really sort of tired of sitting here on screen doing basically nothing visible and productive for you. So I decided to re-engineer and walk through a nearly finished app, tidy it up. And so that's what we're doing now. Before I get started, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine that is somebody I think you are going to want to know. His name is Bob Hampton. And Bob is both a CPA and a financial advisor, and he has a company called Impart Financial. And you can get in touch with him if you'd like by going to livestreamlee.com and clicking on the Bob Hampton link. Why would you want to get in touch with him? Well, I'm going to tell you. If you are a successful business owner and reaching a point in time in your life where you're thinking about what comes next, you might want to sell the business and do something else. You might want to sell the business and retire. In any event, if sell the business or transition out of the business is one of your goals, then you need to talk to somebody that knows what they're doing in terms of taxes and business structure, estates, all kinds of issues, estate taxes, all kinds of stuff that are going to impact you. Bob Hampton is that guy, and he is good at what he does. I've known Bob for many years, and I asked Bob for help, and I think you would be glad to, bottom line is if you get to know Bob and he helps you, you'll be glad that he did. Go to livestreamlee.com, reach out to Bob, start a conversation. He'll be glad to visit with you. And he can help make sure that you get the maximum amount of after-tax money out of the business that you've put so much into. Bob Hampton, Impart Financial Advisors, good guy to know. Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump in now. So I need to go ahead and share my screen. So let me do that. Share screen, click over here, go to demo cart. And now I'm just going to kind of click back and make sure, yep, we're sharing the screen. So here's what we have going on. I'm actually going to just kind of jump in and do a little bit of poking around in the preview mode. So I'm going to click on preview. We're going to log in. We're going to create, we're going to kind of go through the process and see what we need to do. I'm going to click login. And I'm going to try logging in as Tom at tom.com. See, yep, here we go. So Tom is not a vendor. And because Tom is not a vendor, we don't see a vendor profile page here. I'm going to log out as Tom, and I'm going to log in as Carl because we created an account for Carl at carl.com. And we're going to take a look. Now you'll notice that there's a button that says vendor profile. So if I click on vendor profile, I get to go to the profile page for Carl. And here's the profile that I've created for Carly Co. And my name is Carl Carly. So if I click on this panel, I get to go to the detail page for the company. And if I click on orders, I can see a list of orders. There are none. There could be orders paid by customers and orders pending payment. So these would be orders that are paid and in the process of either being fulfilled, or maybe these are orders that are pending payment, orders that have not yet been completed. In any case, I don't have either of those here at Carly Co. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and exit out. And now I'm going to go back in as Tom. So I'm going to go back in as Tom, and I'm going to see about buying something from Carl. So we're going to log back in as Tom. Here we go. We're going to log in as Tom. Tom's going to be our buyer, tom@tom.com. And now we're going to go click on search product list, and we're going to see if we can find anything that Carl has put in. We don't have anything that Carl has put in. So now we're going to go back and log out. We're going to log back in as Carl, and we're going to add a product. Okay, so we're going to click login, and now I'm going to go to my vendor profile, and I'm going to click on Carl Co, and I'm going to go to products, and I don't have any products right here, so I'm going to add a product. Actually, I may not have, I'm on that, it says the edit products page, it says add a product. I might need to kind of tune that up a little bit. So let's go Carl B product. We'll put in a price of $15.95. Carl B description, and I'm just going to put something in here that's a picture. I'm going to put in a picture of, let's see here. I'll put in a pizza pie. Okay, so we put in a piece of pizza pie. I'm going to click update product. And okay, so the update product doesn't do anything. We landed on a page. We didn't see anything. So we need to fix that up a little bit. Okay, so here is the products down here. So if I click on the add product, I land on the page edit products, and it says add a product, but I was apparently on the edit products page. So let's see here. If I click on the add product button, that should take me to the add products page. On the add products page, if I click here, I have a series of products, and if I look at my submit button, it says create product and then link back to vendor profile. Okay, so if I click here on the edit products, it's a product update. So what I really wanted to do is I really want to see a list of products, the vendor products. So if I'm back on my vendor profile page, I should have a list of products, current vendor products. Okay, so let's now go over to the database and just kind of check in and see where we are with products. I've got 10 products, and I'm going to look and see if I have any products owned by Carl. So here's the product vendor. And so if I look at the product vendors, I don't have any products owned by Carl Co. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this. I'm going to say done. And when I click on this products link, this takes me to a page where I can either edit products. Well, this takes me to the edit products page. Okay, so if I scroll down here to the edit products page, it'd really actually be kind of nice to see a list of the products here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a slightly different, okay, add product, edit products. You know what I want to do? I think the add products page, I'm going to take us directly to add products, and the edit product page is going to be specifically for editing products. Okay, so we're going to come back up here, and the products button, so I'll just zoom in a little bit. The product button, we're going to change it to the add product page instead of the edit products page. So we're going to go to add products. We're going to rearrange things a little bit. And then here on the product list, I want to be able to edit a product that shows up in the product list. So I've highlighted the product list. Now I'm going to come over here to my elements. I'm going to come down to open the buttons. I'm going to grab a button, icon button. I'm going to put it over here in the corner. I'm going to change it to be an edit icon. So we're going to make it an edit icon. And now we're going to link that button by add action. We're going to link it to the edit products page. And so what that'll do is that'll push the current product and the current vendor to the product page. Okay, so now I want to make that button only visible if I am the vendor that owns this product, because we're ultimately going to make the vendor page visible to customers as well. So I'm going to change the visibility. I'm going to make it sometimes visible. I'm going to change it to current vendor, vendor user email is equal to logged in user email. So we want to make sure that the current vendor is equal to the logged in vendor if that is going, that edit button is going to be visible. Okay, we made those changes. So now let's go back to Carl and log in as Carl, because Carl's going to create a product, but Carl doesn't have any products. Carl at carl.com, Carl. We're going to log in. Okay, now we're going to go to vendor profile and we're going to go to Carlco, and there's no products shown here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on products. This will now take us to the add product page. So we're going to make this chocolate pizza. Okay, $19.95. This is a dessert pizza, and I'm just going to put a picture of pizza in here again. So we're going to grab a piece of pie, and we're going to go ahead and click create product. And now that should take us back to the vendor products page. So it took us back to a page where it says products offered, and it doesn't show us what we expected. So let's go see what we've done here. So I'm clicking out. So I'm going to go down to the add products page, which is right here, and we're going to see what we've done. So we're going to open the form up. We're going to look at the submit button, and we're going to come down here to the create product, and we're going to see what we've got. Okay, great. Create product. Clicking the submit button on the form will create the product. Done. Okay. Well, we don't know exactly. So let's click on let's go to the fields and let's see what data we've put in here. We put in a product name, a product price, product description, product image. We need the current vendor. So we didn't get the vendor in there. So we're going to add the current vendor. Okay, so that is a problem. We didn't have the vendor. And let's see what other fields we might have here. Product order items, product image, price, description, those are all up above. So product, we don't have a product order item. So we're just going to ignore that. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and stop here. Now, I click over under products and I look at products. This is a dessert pizza, but look here, I don't have a product vendor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove the product. We're going to say, okay. We're going to be sure you want to delete the record. Yep, we're going to do that. So we delete the record. Now, we're going to go back in and we're going to add that same product again. So we have to log back in as Carl at carl.com. So Carl at carl.com, Carl, and log in. And now we go to vendor profile. We're going to go into Carlco, go to products, and we're going to add a product. So we're going to do this again. Pizza, and make it $19.95. And load up a pizza pie photo. All right, so here's a pizza pie, a little different one this time just for grins. Create product. Now that's going to take us back. Now notice what happened. I had not previously put in the vendor name. And because I didn't have the vendor name, I didn't know what vendor photo and other information. I didn't have the product. And so when we came to this page, it was empty. But because I added a piece of data to the product, it now is beginning to kind of come together. And so we're seeing what we want to see. Now, notice that there's a edit button here. So if I click on this edit button, that'll take us to the edit products page. And I can edit the product. I can change whatever I want to, $21.95. I come down, click update product. And you know what? It doesn't do anything. It just stays right there. Well, that's because I didn't tell that button to take us back to the vendor page. So let's go in to, here we are in the edit products page. So I'm going to click on the form. I'm going to come down here to the submit button, and the submit button updates the product. Okay, great. Whatever changes I made, it updates the product. But what does it do next? Well, let's link back to the vendor profile. And so now we link back to the vendor profile. It's going to send the current product back to the vendor profile. And again, now we can come here and let's see, we're going to log back in as Carl. So we're going to log in. So we're logged in as Carl. We're going to go to vendor profile. We're going to click on Carlico, and we come here to Carlico. But now, interestingly enough, we don't have anything up here above. We have the product on the page, but we don't have the vendor information on the page. So let's check and see. We've got something in our database that's a little off, that's not telling us what vendor we have here. So we link to this page. Okay, so I'm going to back up a little bit so we can come in and look. And here's the vendor profile. So we link to the vendor profile from this button here. So actually, we go to vendor profile, and but we take it. The vendor profile takes us to a different page first. It takes us to the user's vendor list. So the vendor profile takes us to the user's vendor list. Okay, so let's see if we actually need to do that. So the user's vendor list, let's go figure out where that is. I think this is it here. The user's vendor list is going to have a list of vendors. It's the logged in user vendor. I wonder if we can simply bypass that and go directly to the vendor profile. So let's try this. Let's come down here and let's click on vendor profile, and let's link directly to the vendor profile page. So here we are going directly to the vendor profile page. So we're going to click done. Now, what we're going to do is, because we don't want to confuse the vendor profile page with different links coming in. What do I mean by that? Okay, so if I go to, actually, let me do this. I'm going to go back to this button, and I'm going to change the link back to user's vendor profile. Okay, because I want to show you a user vendor list. Okay, so if I come up here to the user vendor list page, and I look at the data that's been passed to this page by looking at the available data, it doesn't have anything. The only thing that we know for sure is the logged in user. We always know who the logged in user is. Okay, so when I click on the form or the list on this page, the list tells me to take me to the vendor profile. And what I do is I choose a vendor from the vendor list, and I pass the current vendor over to the vendor profile page. Okay, so now let's go down to the vendor profile page, and we're going to click on the page, and we're going to come down and look at the available data here. And we have the current vendor. Well, we have the current vendor because we passed the current vendor to the vendor profile page. Okay, now on this page, we have a list of the products of the current vendor. Okay, so we have a potentially bit of a challenge because we haven't selected a vendor. If we go directly from this vendor profile button to this vendor profile page, we don't know what vendor we're dealing with because we don't know who the vendor is. We haven't selected a vendor. So we may have a challenge. So what we're going to try is we're going to go ahead and try going to this button, and we're going to choose to go. And again, we may break something that we have to go back and fix. We're going to go ahead and choose, go directly to the vendor profile. Okay, so the only thing that we know at this point from this page is who the logged in user is. Well, the logged in user wouldn't see this link if there wasn't a vendor associated with the logged in user. So when we come over to this page, now we go to the vendor profile. I'm going to come down and I want to show you what the available data is. Looky here. I don't have a current product and I don't have a current vendor. It says missing from edit products, from home, from add products and product list. I don't have the current vendor. Current product is missing from the user's vendor list and from the home page. In other words, I don't know anything other than who the logged in user is. Okay, so how do I populate data here? So if I click on this picture, what picture image do I put in? Well, currently it says current product vendor image, but I don't know what the current product is, so I can't show. So let's go to database. If I go to logged in user, vendors, vendor user, I can't get a picture. I can get a profile picture of the logged in user, but I can't get the vendor and the vendor picture because there's no vendor selected. So that's why we take the step of going from the vendor button to the select vendor page. So we're going to go ahead and take us back to the page here where we go to users vendor list. Okay, so we know that if we go to a page devoted to vendors owned by users, that we can give the ability for the list of vendors owned by users, and then you can select a vendor, and then we can pass the vendor over to the vendor profile. So if I click here, now we're on the list of vendors. It's the logged in users vendors. So it's a simple list of all the vendors that the logged in user has created. In this case, there's only one. And so that's the one that shows up. And when we click on it, it passes us over to the vendor profile page. So now if I click on the vendor profile page and I come down and I look at the available data, you'll see the current vendor is back. Now, because the current vendor is back, I can go to the vendor image and I can click on, actually select database, current vendor picture. Now I can put the current vendor picture in the current image. Now, if I come over, let me just go ahead and zoom in a little bit, come over to the vendor name. If I click on this, it's the current product vendor name. Well, I can actually, now that I know on this page who the vendor is, I can just simply choose current vendor name. Okay, and I can choose the same thing with the address. Instead of being current product vendor address, I can delete that and I can go with current vendor address. Now, here's an interesting thing. I'm going to go ahead and position this over a little bit and then raise it up. These buttons are only going to be visible if I'm on this page, I'm logged in as the owner. And they will otherwise disappear and everything below will shift up to where the buttons were. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and move the vendor name up here because we know who we are. In fact, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to move the vendor name up. I'm going to move the vendor. Actually, we just need some additional space here. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to click on vendor profile. I'm going to highlight the whole page. I'm going to make the page a little bit longer. I'm going to move this group of elements. So I'm highlighting everything here and clicking on it, all of these elements. And I'm going to see if I can move them all down. I'm going to move them down. I'm just creating a little bit of additional space. Now I'm going to click here. I'm going to move up. I'm going to grab this box. I'm going to move it down. Okay, and that's the list box. I'm going to move this down. And then I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to put the vendor name here. And we're going to put, let's see here. I just don't like, I really want more space up here, but let's see, products, shipping. I wonder if I can put that up here. Yep, I can take that and move that over a little bit. Profile, move this up. There we go. We just made a little extra space. There we go. So now we're going to make the name right here, vendor address, vendor phone. Actually, let's put vendor city, state, zip. So we'll just copy vendor address, move it down, and then we're going to get rid of that. We're going to time, current vendor city, and then I'm going to put the vendor phone number over here. And then we're going to, let's see here, click the wrong thing, Control C, Control V. So I'm going to zoom in and space these just a little different. There we go. So vendor city, this is actually delete. The current vendor, the vendor US state name, and then zip code. We're going to go ahead and put the zip code here. Change that. Current vendor, vendor zip. And then let's see, I think that is it. Maybe an email. I don't know if I have an email. Let's see here. If I click here, do I have a vendor email? Vendor name, picture, phone, hours. I'll go ahead and put the vendor hours in. Okay, so we'll put phone and hours. Whoops. Go ahead and put phone. I didn't do that. I'm just double checking to see if I copied it. So, because I moved too fast, current vendor, vendor hours. Okay, vendor phone, vendor hours. So now we've got lots of information about the vendor here. And we'll go ahead now and click on preview. Let's go see how this looks for Carl Co. Log in. And now we're logged in as Carl, and we're going to click on vendor profile. So here we go, vendor profile. We're going to choose Carl Co. And here we go. We got everything for Carl Co. We don't have a phone number. We got the hours, Carl Co. We don't have a lot of information, but look up here. We don't have a Carl Co. Graphic behind on top of the. So our edit profile is missing. So we need another way of editing the profile. And you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a different kind of icon just right up here in the corner that is an edit icon. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here. We're going to get rid of profile and delete that. And I'm going to put, actually, you know what I'll do is I'm just going to grab this icon here. And I'm going to Control C, Control V, and I'm just going to move it up. And we're going to place it right up here in the corner. And then we're going to just kind of move that over like that. Now we're going to sometimes visible. It's the same, but this time instead of edit products, we're going to link to edit profile, edit vendor profile. So let's see here, edit. Shipping, create vendor profile. You know what? We don't have an edit vendor profile page. So we need to create an edit vendor profile page. So we're going to click the new screen. We're going to go ahead and put an app bar in. We're going to call it edit vendor profile. We're going to create the screen. So that's going to, as it always does, put a new screen up here in the corner. And so we're going to go ahead and just bring that over here. Actually, we're going to put it right up here above the create vendor because that's what is right there. So we're going to zoom in, create vendor account. So we're going to put the edit vendor account right above the create vendor account and kind of position it so it's a perfect fit. And then I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to grab the form for creating a vendor profile. I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to come up here and highlight the screen. I'm going to paste it in, and then I'm going to click on this form. And instead of edit, we're going to update. So it's exactly the same form. And I'm just going to move it up a little bit. And actually, I'm going to do the same thing here. And now on the button for the submit button, once we've edited, we're going to update the vendor, update the user, and then we're going to link back. So that'll take us back to where we came in from. So now let's go preview. And we're going to log in as Carl at carl.com yet again. Click login. And we're going to go to vendor profile. And now we're on, we're going to choose the Carl Co. And now if I click on this little edit link here, that takes us to edit vendor profile. When I click update, that'll take us back to the page. So now we have a nice clean look, and we can, let's see what happens if we click on product. That takes us to the product detail page. We should have a big picture of the product. We don't because we have some breaks, but that's what we're going to fix. We're going to actually continue at that point tomorrow. We're out of time for today. It's 3:31. So come back tomorrow at 3 o'clock and we'll continue this process and wrap it up. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 3. And until then, my name's Lee Thurburn, and I will look forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock tomorrow on Live Stream Lee. Thanks for joining today, and have a great evening. See you tomorrow at 3.